and I forgot why we started talking about it. Oh no, but you had said that. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's you had said that Star Wars fans like to they like to engage and be involved, and I'm very thankful that we have the type of approach that has been able to connect with a big portion of the Star Wars fan base. So
Yeah.
that's been very fulfilling. I've made lifelong friends. Like, yeah, right here, we're becoming buddies right in front of everyone here, and just because of Star Wars. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. There's just something that's so valuable about Star Wars on a cultural level is that it's a I mean, though, you can make the same argument that it is as divisive as it is unifying, but it's a unifying thing, man. Like you can there's a something about a fandom that even if you're of a political differences, right? And particularly in today's day and age when everybody's just at each other's throat, there's just something about Star Wars that can unify people together because it's it's an old mythology that's told in a way that it has modern day values. You know what I mean? Like these are timeless stories that are being told, but like, the battle against tyranny and oppression or uniformity, right? If you want to look at it more abstractly, that's something that kind of unites people because we all want to be individuals and we all want to contribute our perceptions onto things.
George Lucas, when he was developing Star Wars, opened himself up to all sort of different methods of storytelling throughout history.
Yeah.
And he looked at everything from the Bible to Shakespeare to Greek mythology, to Buddhism, I mean, all kind of different things. And that led him to start reading Joseph Campbell stuff. And of course,
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell was a
Hero of
scholar
a Thousand Faces.
right. And he studied all of that stuff and went on college lecture circuits and became very well known as someone who was truly like the godfather of myth making. Campbell was able to boil it all down, everything from the old telling stories around a fire in the caveman days to uh, organized religion and
Yeah.
things of that aspect. And Campbell would in all of this mythology and stuff, and Campbell would be able to pluck all of the things that made these stories appeal to mass audiences throughout time. Have that universal appeal. Why do these stories get passed on from generation to generation? What is it about them? And so he would take cultures from opposite ends of the world and study them and recognize that they would share these universal elements that appealed to the human nature.
Yeah.
And so George started studying that stuff and put it all into a blender and came up with Star Wars. And of course, George also very heavily studied the films of the past. Um, it was all part of his world building process, such to the point that Joseph Campbell actually once referred to Lucas as his best student because he was
Yeah.
actually able to take what Campbell was discovering about the modern myth and storytelling throughout history and actually apply it in such a perfect way, which
Yeah.
George did with Star Wars. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, Lucas was and Joseph Campbell, they were also a big fan of Carl Jung. And what makes Carl Jung special in the psychology world is that he kind of takes this hero's journey
Mhm.
and he puts it into this process called individuation, right? To where the importance of these myths is that you project your journey onto it. And I think what's so universal, like, let's just say the first story, for example, or the A New Hope. Uh, you start off with this character Luke Skywalker who's young, naive, unsure of himself in a chaotic world, right? And we've all been there in some point in time in our life. We've all felt unsure of ourselves, unsure of who we should be, right? And we go on, we find this wise teacher, this mentor that kind of teaches us how to find that spark of individuality in ourselves and kind of blossom that and allow that to become the confidence that we use to take down the empire, find a circle of friends that we can be ourselves, right? And I think that's the beauty of Star Wars, is that it works in a way that you can project your life story onto it, and you can find a sense of fulfillment or purpose every time you watch it and engage with it.
It has that universal appeal. There's
Yeah,
something in there. There are elements in the story. It might be the whole story. It might be just one little part of the story, but there's something in there that is going to appeal to your base, um, to your just your basic likes,
yeah,
and it's going to resonate with you in a way because it appeals to that element of your personal human nature. For me, it's a lot of the story has to do with Luke, the relationship with the father, all that
yeah,
stuff, you know. Um, I'm not
yeah.
saying my dad was Darth Vader, but I mean, it's just it's a certain way of breaking down um, the fundamentals of human relationship in a super fantastic, amazing way.
Yeah, yeah,
That borderlines on absurdity sometimes, but you can still pick apart those elements that will appeal to your human nature and everything that's educated you up to the point when you actually see the film. You see yourself in a lot of the characters.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I mean that's also like a classic trope of Greek tragedies, right?
Yeah.
Struggle between father and son, or the struggle of one generation passing the torch to the next. How one generation's values become the next generation's, you know, uh, fears. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, just like all the little nuances that Lucas added when he wrote the original trilogy, like Vader's just German for father, right? So
Yeah. Right.
he's just a he's just that dark father figure, or the perversion of the king archetype, if you want to get Jungian with it. But I don't know. I feel like that's probably I feel like it's a good thing that this kind of period of like calm was the last thing that we got was The Mandalorian, because out of all the Disney productions, The Mandalorian feels the most like the old trilogy, and it feels the most like it was made by fans.
Mm, yeah. Well, at least made by guys who really understand the tone and vibe of Star Wars.
Right, right.
And that has the it reeks of the American Western.
Oh,
It
I
reeks
love
of the Italian Western. It's just it has those great elements to it, and also it has a vibe that kind of takes me back to some '80s TV shows too, a little bit, um, without being too obnoxious about it. Um, wow, they threw a bunch of stuff into that mix and really came up with a winning recipe. Uh, when you just think about the absurd notion of a baby Yoda. I mean, this stuff on paper, I don't think would have sold us as much as actually seeing it for ourselves. But Boba Fett knockoff goes in search of baby Yoda. But I mean, there's just so much fresh going on, surrounded by so much familiar.
right.
And that is something that I wish the sequel trilogy would have embraced a little more, giving us some of those more familiar locales, like the Mandalorian going back to Mos Eisley and Tatooine, or having a battle on foot against a Jawa sandcrawler. You know, those are familiar things, but it's put in this fresh new package, and it just is so well done. And I think that fans react so much to it is because it really has such a solid foot in the original trilogy look and feel,
Yeah,
classic aliens, um just something about the pacing of it really resembles the old uh spaghetti westerns, Enrico Morricone, Clint Eastwood films. um Morricone, he was the composer. Who was the guy who
Oh,
directed?
Sergio Leone.
Sergio.
Sergio
Yes,
Leone.
of course, of course.